Toon Jam. Toon Jam.
Hello and welcome to Toon Jam. I am Matt.
And I'm J-Man.
And today we are doing or covering The Boys Diabolical, or The Boys Presents Diabolical. Either way, bit of a rubbish name. Just throwing it out there. Nothing about the actual show. Just a criticism on the name there. Not a fan. But that being said, let me tell you a little bit about the show. The Boys Presents Diabolical is an American adult animated superhero anthology series that premiered on Amazon Prime on March the 4th, 2022. Pretty fresh. The series is based on the comic book series The Boys by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, and serves as a spin-off of the television series of the same name. The anthology series was released in 8 episodes, each using its own animation style. At the 2021 CCXP Worlds panel for Prime Video in Brazil, The Boys Presents Diabolical was first announced. It was revealed to be an animated anthology series set in the Boys universe, with executive producers Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg likening it to the Animatrix. I love that whenever anything's an anthology series, that's like the go-to. It's like the Animatrix.
That's it. That's the one. I was going to say that myself. Like, yeah, it's got it's Animatrix stuff.
It's weird because there's been so many of them since that. But that one's still
that's the one.
The benchmark almost, isn't it?
Yeah, that broke the ice.
Interesting. Diabolical is made up of 8 brand new stories created by Awkwafina, Garth Ennis, Elliot Glazer and Ilana Glazer, Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, Simon Rakiopa, Justin Roiland and Ben Booth, Andy Samberg and Aisha Tyler. The series premiered on March 4th, 2022, as I've just said. Eric Kripke stated that the idea to create Diabolical arose during the COVID-19 pandemic, when producers wanted to release something during the wait for the season 3 of The Boys. Due to restrictions on most live-action productions, they decided to try and make an animated anthology utilising different forms of styles. Several key cast members were revealed, with the first teaser trailer in February 2022, which included several of the creators. Later that month, a full trailer with the rest of the large cast was revealed. This included the revelation that Peg would provide the voice of Huey Campbell, a character who was long associated with Peg. However, Peg could not portray him in live action, having aged too much by the time the series was produced. And the reason he was so touted for that role is because it was basically based on him. He looks exactly the same as him in the book. So there you go. A bit of information there on The Boys Diabolical. So essentially, they wanted to create something in between seasons. I imagine this is quite important for Amazon because they don't have that much going on, really.
You
As a
really
streaming
think
service.
they would have? But no.
Yeah, they tend to, if you're really into TV series based on action movies, then you'll love Prime.
You're gonna love Prime.
Otherwise, there's not that many shows.
No, Amazon really good at delivering packages to your door, but really terrible at delivering quality shows to your streaming service.
Yeah, exactly. But hey ho, I mean, we've watched this, so let's see what we think of stuff. But I mean, had you watched this before we watched it?
No, I had seen The Boys though, so I've got context for what is going on. What about you?
Same. I've seen season 1 of The Boys.
Right.
I'm a little bit behind, which is pretty par for the course. Amazing I got that far. Also, I've read some of The Boys as well. So again, familiar with the whole world of The Boys.
Yeah.
But interestingly, liked the show, didn't like the book. So right now I'm in the middle.
Right.
So this could go either way. But yes, okay. Well, with that, let's talk about the ratings, the reception for it. So I've got in front of me an IMDb rating and both an audience score and a tomatometer.
Oh wow!
For Rotten Tomatoes. So we've got the full house today. So let's take your guesses. First up, IMDb.
IMDb. I'm gonna go. I think because it's new, I'm gonna go highish. So I'm gonna go 7. 7.0 straight on 7.
7.0.
Yeah.
Going around numbers. Okay. And audience score?
Audience score 80%.
80%. And tomatometer?
Tomatometer, it's got to be 100%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a risky guess? Never.
Never is.
Not when Rotten Tomatoes is there. So, right. So first up, you said IMDb. You said 7.0.
Yeah.
Right. So there's been 6,000 ratings.
Oh wow.
So good, healthy amount.
Mm-hmm.
And the score is 7.0.
What?
Yeah, he's spot on with that one.
Amazing.
That's why I was so amazed when you said it. Oh boy! So there you go. Bang on. Audience score, you said
80.
80. You were big on the round numbers today. Actually, they were all round, weren't they? You were wrong on that one. It's 73.
73. Oh.
Yeah. Audiences, I believe, tend not to like anthology series.
Right.
I think it's just a natural reaction. People end up only liking a couple of the episodes and then not understanding why the rest of it they didn't like, sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose it's like the antithesis of like binge stuff, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It's not the show that you've watched again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's different every time. Yeah.
So doesn't work for everyone, but still reasonable score, that 73%. And the tomatometer, you said 100%.
Yeah.
You're incorrect.
What?
Yeah, it's not 100%.
Well, how did this happen?
Yeah, but it is 97%.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Yeah, so pretty interesting.
Oh wow, not 100%.
Yeah, so.
Well, they might as well throw in the towel now, haven't they?
I know. I mean, that's a pretty low score actually for a tomatometer.
Yeah.
That means it's trash.
Yeah, certified trash.
Okay, so there you go. That's the. I mean, we jest. It's good reviews. Good reviews on there. Good ratings. So
yeah.
What about Twitter? Has Twitter got much to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, there's everyone's calling it the boys Diabolical on there.
Yeah, it makes more sense,
Not much presents. Nobody even knows why things have started presenting other things, but
no.
You'd have to ask the Fast and the Furious about that. Yeah, I think a lot of people seem to be pretty happy with it. We've got Oscar Achanavi, sorry about that pronunciation. They say, watching the boys Diabolical, every episode has been ridiculously funny and insane. And then I got to episode 7, bro.
Is that the end?
That's it.
Oh, so, man.
Episode 7, that's one to look out for.
Is that a good one or is that bad?
I think I don't. That's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, episode 7 is it's a hard hitter. It's not
that's the beefy one.
Yeah, it's not the comedic jest of the others.
No.
Different tone.
Yeah.
It's different, as the kid would say.
Yeah.
Bro.
Says it all.
Yeah, I do like that word is just like synonymous with like anything. Like you understand it within context. It's just like a universal thing.
Unless you like us and you like 85 or whatever.
Yeah. We're 85.
Yeah, I mean, the more we sort of talk about cartoons, I feel like, the less I understand.
Yeah, we get older every time we do it.
We get every episode we're a week older. Think about that.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Okay, next tweet.
We've got
Leave me with my tears.
AZ Cheese, who says, finished The Boys Diabolical, lots of blood, but I liked the different animation styles.
Did they say lots of blood, but I liked?
Yeah, so
they weren't happy with the blood.
No, that was the bad bit.
Yeah. That's interesting. That was something I was going to bring up, the excessive amount of blood.
Yeah, and for some that's a no.
Yeah.
So interesting though as well for saying it's like The Boys as well, because the show doesn't really pull punches either. So
no, but I suppose that's a result of the sort of the style, animation.
Yeah.
Certain, like, that's the big thing in the first episode. Obviously, it's like the whole point is it's like a really old school cartoon, but with a load of blood.
Yeah.
And it is kind of jarring because of that.
Yeah.
So I guess for some people, they just can't, that those two things don't go together.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and on that point, we've got Lust Highway, who says, watching The Boys Diabolical, this is like Happy Tree Friends if they were humans.
Yeah. So,
which is, that's a pretty good comparison, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's got that just over the top kind of gore aspect to it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, well, especially in this one anyway. I don't know how it changes in the others. I suppose that's what's interesting about doing the first episode of an anthology. Is like we might have no sense of what the rest of it is
exactly
about,
and I kind of thought this by the end of it, like, well, with it being an anthology, really, you kind of have to, you what you're critiquing is a singular episode, because the rest are completely different. You can't really say what the whole series is as a whole. So this is very much an episode 1 review. Yeah,
it is. But in another way, very much like we've enjoyed that whole episode in its entirety, and that's the end of that particular series. So it's like in one way we've seen it all, and in another we really haven't. We really haven't. And then finally we've got Rob Source Do 2500. So they say The Boys Diabolical was so damn great. Fantastic animation, great variety of episodes, bizarre superhero-based humor. More adult animation, please.
Bizarre superhero-based humor.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I mean, in a time of, Deadpool, like post-Deadpool world.
We are in a post-Deadpool society.
Yeah, it's pretty... superhero humor is not necessarily bizarre.
Maybe it gets weirder as it goes on.
And as well, who's to say that just the humor in general is not bizarre?
Yeah,
because it is. I mean, it's pretty like it. This episode anyway was essentially gore-based humor, wasn't it? Yeah. So, but yeah, it looks. I mean, just looking at pictures of it, it looks like it goes to all sorts of different places. So.
Yeah, I've seen a few screenshots of the other episodes, and
bizarre. So interesting.
So I liked that end as well. More adult animation, please. Like, I wonder how much other adult animation they've ingested, because obviously we've had kind of an issue with adult animation. So
definitely.
Maybe
it means more like a. Because I do think there's a point in that, whether this is what you meant or not, with that tweet, it's more like I think there is a lack of adult animation, but that is serious. So like just drama. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess they kind of did it with Invincible. stuff like that. And it's always because sometimes you do just want, an animation that's not necessarily, it's not a kids show, it's not a comedy, it's just a show, but that they can do something else with. And there are a few. I'd say, things like Young Justice and that feel like, where they've got the weight of an adult show and things like that. So, but yeah, always more animation in general is never a problem in our eyes.
Yeah, I think so.
So is that all
that's it for Twitter? Yeah, they pretty happy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, the blood criticism.
Yeah.
Was there, but otherwise, seemingly happy with the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Weird and wacky places. It did in the first episode. No doubt more in the future.
Yeah. There seems to be a lot of Twitter saying, why aren't more people talking about the show?
Yeah. So I mean, so let's dig in. First thing, from like I say, episode 1, was it kind of what you were expecting?
Not at all. No. I hadn't really seen much about it going in, but I was expecting the cookie cutter adult animation, especially from the boys, because it's got that kind of humor, hasn't it, in the fact that it's like it's a lot of sweary stuff, a lot of just over the top, like this is the whatever gets an R rating or whatever, we'll just do that a lot. So I was kind of expecting like, oh yeah, there'll just be people like mouthing off immediately, probably some rude jokes and stuff, that kind of jazz like that. That's kind of what I was going in for. So I was pleasantly surprised when it opened up.
I just expected, the same animation as Invincible, which it does appear to be at least one episode where that is the case.
Right.
Or at least very similar. But that's what I was expecting, and just it to be, in the same wheelhouse as the TV series. Just not completely different, not a wacky sort of Roger Rabbit-esque cartoon filled with gore. Yeah. It's just not what I expected at all. And that's what it is. I mean, it's very much like, The Baby. It's kind of a mixture between Roger Rabbit and The Incredibles with, major violence thrown in. And that was, I think, the first thing, I was watching it like, oh, it's just going to be like an old school cartoon. This is really interesting. Because it's episode 1 as well, so they've obviously gone in with like a completely different approach. For that result, I guess. And then that moment where, so the first time someone gets a laser eyesight blast through their chest, and you just see blood everywhere and they die. It was shocking. Like, you just didn't expect it to happen, like, because it is such a cartoon. And it kind of changes the entire violence of a cartoon. But at the same time, in getting rid of that, you kind of then lose one of the main things in a cartoon. Because that violence, sort of the Tom and Jerry, flattening of the face and all that kind of stuff, is such a major part of these classic style cartoons. That when you've got an episode that's essentially all about violence, it doesn't have that. And then you kind of like, well, what is it? Do you know what I mean?
I hadn't really thought of it like that. Like, it kind of breaks a major rule in that base, in the fact that like cartoon violence has its own.
And then
like everyone bounces back, like no matter what happens. Like, you can fall off a cliff, you can get like sawn in half, like whatever. Like you always come back. Like,
and that's part of the humor and part of the entire style. So as soon as you get rid of that, you kind of think, well, why is it this? Because it isn't this. And that was something I really struggled with trying to understand. once it started doing that, because I was all in, and then it started doing that, and I was a bit like, well, once the gag's gone, and everyone's just getting their heads blown off all the time, it wasn't that. I just started to switch off a bit.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of just would, not really pay as much attention to all that. It didn't, and I just thought you're missing out on actually a big part of the humor of the cartoons as well, because there's something funny about seeing someone with a, with a absolutely flat head or something. You know what I mean? Like, where it turns into just a giant flat version of them, like paper head. I don't know. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely shocked by it when it first happened, but then, yeah, I think you do get used to it really quick. I think, like, I was like, oh, okay, this is what's going on now, and yeah, I think it did sort of lose its magic like pretty quickly, because it happens quite a lot throughout the short episode. But I mean, I suppose I've seen, Happy Tree Friends, for example. I've seen a fair bit of that. I've seen a fair amount of like gory, over the top style animated things, and I think this, they're obviously going for the shock value of it and stuff, because there was a layer to it that was they purposefully put more detail in there, hadn't they, to the gore and the guts and stuff like that. Like, there were moments where they were sort of trying to cling on to sort of like the classic animation bit. Like, someone gets disintegrated pretty much, and there's a moment where like their eyes are still on like what's left of like the ashes, and then they sort of like slowly crumble. So it was like they were still doing like, an homage to that, but obviously they'd taken the rug out from beneath you, sort of thing. I mean, I'm fairly partial to some ultra violence, so it didn't really, it didn't take me aback as maybe as much as some other people, but I thought they did all right with it. Like, I think within the context of the episode, it did make sense, and I ended up focusing more on the whole baby's day out side of it, of just like them amping up the pressure of the baby, getting into trouble and getting into a more precarious situation as it went on. And I think I ended up focusing on that way more than what was happening to the characters, because once you've seen someone blown up into a million pieces, or once you've seen someone cleaved in half and you see a lot of their intestines everywhere, you've seen a bit of all something. So
and I think it's an interesting thing, because it's like, the more you think about it, like, it's like, that's the one thing I just couldn't wrap my head around. It's like, well, why make it this style of cartoon if like one of the fundamental building blocks is gone? But then equally, it's a the boys cartoon. Yeah. So why would you make it just a normal cartoon? What's the point in that? I think it's just a bit of a quandary in the middle of it, I suppose. I don't know if there's an answer that I've got. To be frank, but I don't want that was, for me, it switched me off when all that was going on. But I agree, the story itself was really nice and was enough to shine through it all. And get you to grips with it, because you did like this baby. You liked the sort of main guy, the sort of scientist that was trying to save her at the end of the day. And you were invested in the story, and you knew it was only going to be short and whatever, and that she's following around this ball, and that's all it is. But it was nice, and it was fun, and it wasn't at all what I was expecting. And if there was any of them that was going to pull me into it, it would have been this style of cartoon.
I mean, the fact that it was, there was no dialogue or anything throughout the episode, it felt, other than the violence, it felt like a classic cartoon. Like, they'd even put like, they've got grain and stuff, haven't they, over the top of it?
And the art style I really, really liked.
I
just thought it was, again, it was a big part of what I wasn't expecting. And it had that sort of 1950s Disney vibe.
Mm.
There was really not. I did really enjoy that, and wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah, I know that this was this is definitely something. I wasn't. I would have put money down on this being another quote unquote adult animation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's hilarious is if you look at episode 2, it's literally Justin Roiland.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I was looking. I thought, oh, what are the other episodes like? And then the next one's like, if they'd have done that first, I'd have been.
Man. You'd have been like that.
And it's not that I have a problem with Justin Roiland at all, but literally on art style,
yeah,
I would have just been like, oh, it's just I wouldn't have been bothered. So yeah, hilarious. The next.
I think well played to them for lining them up in that order. Then, make sure you don't get what you're expecting first, and then just drop you in.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, here you go.
And that's what this one felt like. That like this one felt like of all of them, this is going to be the most sort of the most kind of what you're not expecting. Whilst once you've watched it, you're kind of like, yeah, it makes sense that this is what you'd get. Yeah. But visually, it's not what you're expecting, I would say.
No. And I mean, I think, for the fans of the boys as well, like it's very clearly in that universe as well. You've got the Void Company and stuff that they're doing it. There's lots of little like Easter eggs and little references and stuff, just posters of the superheroes from the show in the back and stuff like that. There's plenty of stuff for the fans. But I think if you went in without knowing any of it, it's still, there's definitely something different about it, like having that mix of the old school cartoon style and then just the over the top violence, but in a way as well that was almost like it started off very innocent, because it's accidental, isn't it? It's not, it doesn't begin with someone just being like, I'm going to unleash powers on you. It's like it happens as an accident. So
it's innocent, isn't it, as well? It's innocent murder.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it is, and you're all with the baby sort of thing. I think what's interesting as well, sort of, with the animation, and I guess another reason you don't expect it is that when you look at all these sort of, series like this, like Animatrix, there's the Star Wars one they did recently. They did a Batman one, didn't they? Gotham Knight, was it?
Yeah.
They tend to all be pretty much Eastern styles, like all anime styles in like different versions of that. Maybe the odd one that isn't, but this straight away you're thrown at with like the ultimate Western style. Yeah. Like the quintessential cartoon. And then you're looking at, like, now I'm looking at a picture of like loads of different episodes. It has more variation, like even though it has, I mean, the next episode being exactly the same as Rick and Morty pretty much. Is still in an anthology series something new. And I think that is because sometimes it can just be like, oh, there's just loads of anime, it's just an anime series, and it probably makes it more uniform in that way. Whereas this looks like it's going to be a real pillar to post journey with actual proper different styles, which
I'm definitely interested in that. Like that's kind of, that is what you want, isn't it? You want a mix of stuff in the anthologies and stuff. Absolutely. You don't want to be able to be like, oh, those two were very much the same.
I mean, is there anything you'd want out of a future episode? Like this one is very simple, to the point where it was very like super simple, straightforward. Is that something you want more of, or do you want like a real array?
I mean, I'm up for a mix. Like I think an anthology should be a real mix of everything from story to art style. It should be as if like you do want to feel like different creators have got involved and they're putting their own spins on stuff, and you want stuff delivered to you. I think it hits, it feels sort of like more I guess it kind of catches you off guard more, I suppose, if they do that within the series as well. Because when you do watch a show and you know what you're in for, you're on season 5 of like the sitcom you're watching or whatever. It's like you know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, part of that is the comfort of it. That's why people go in. But also, like, very little is probably going to catch you off guard. Whereas, like, with an anthology, you want to go to the next one and be like, oh, I didn't see that one coming, like, and not know how the story is going to develop, like the pace of it. I think that's essentially what makes them so interesting. So I would like to see them mix it up a little bit, but I really did like how tight knit, like how easy to get on with this story was. The fact that it was like no dialogue and stuff, like you're watching the visual stuff play out in front of you, and I do like the delivery. Thought they did a really good job of it on this one.
I think for me, what I'd like to and it's kind of rare again for this type of show, is the fact that it was a comedy as well. So it would be nice to see like the different like comedy elements, but still I think because The Boys is something that it can relate to, and the fact that it does have comedy, that's something that's going to end up being more uniform in a way. And I'd like to see how that's applied to different styles. And whether it does, they do just kind of follow The Boys trend, or they just do their own thing.
Right. Yeah. The one I always hope to see in an anthology series is just the one that's completely like, I want like the surrealist like tale. I want to just go, don't know, like, maybe a hero that's got like the weirdest power and just go all in on like complete mind bender. That's what I'd love to see. Hopefully there's one of those in there where it's like, what was that? That's the reaction I want when the credits come up. Like, what? So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, there's
episode 3. I don't know.
There is some bizarro stuff in there, so we've got it all to come. Okay, well, we've talked about it, so shall we move on to our final reviews? Coming soon to a streaming service in your home, it's The Boys Presents Diabolical, a series of different animations that are The Boys, diabolical in every way. That's right, it's a streaming show that is presented by Amazon Prime Originals. It's The Boys, the Diabolical, the presented by Amazon, The Boys, and Diabolical, all in one word. That's right, the show is called The Boys Presents Diabolical, presented to you soon. Now, The Boys Diabolical. Okay, so here at Toon Jam we have a 3-point rating system that goes as follows. Thumbs up, The Animatrix.
Oh yeah.
The OG. You want to talk about an anthology? That is the first anthology in history.
Come on.
Of TV, apparently. Thumbs down. Using The Animatrix as the only anthology reference. Come on, guys. There's more out there. There's more out there than just that. But, you're not going to stop. Let's be honest. And shaky middle. The way we all watch TV. Come on, guys. We need to be more open-minded, clearly. I mean, if adult animation has shown us anything, we need to be more open-minded. Am I right? Oh, zing, 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 zing. I said it. Okay. So basically, thumbs up good, thumbs down bad. Shaky middle is exactly that. So, The Boys presents Diabolical. Episode 1. Emphasis on that. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I was really happy that this was not what I thought it was going to be. And I think for the first 2 minutes, even, I was like, I'm so glad this isn't what I was expecting. It was really well done as well. They really, I guess, well, obviously done their homework on that kind of, that era of cartoon and stuff. And it's very obvious once you go in. It's the characters, like they look nice, they move in the way you'd want them to. It was really cool being sort of taken on that old school cartoon journey and not really knowing where it was going, because it's a new show, so it wasn't like, oh, they're just going to be a cat and mouse chasing each other or whatever. It was cool to see it and be like, oh, what's this then? And I really liked the story. I thought it was really like cute. It was a really nice little story. I mean, it is essentially Baby's Day Out, but the cartoon aspect made it far more likable, I think, because I always hated that baby. What an annoying baby. Just get back in your crib. Yeah, the story was really fun, and the violence as well, definitely unexpected again. So if you're into that type of stuff, it's pretty fun. But it continues to have the charm, I think, all the way through the episode, and continues to be like a really nice, fun story. And I mean, it does have that grim overtone as well. The fact that the baby was genuinely running for its life, really, and stuff. That's all kind of in there. So you have it is adult in that aspect of like they couldn't really show this to kids because it's actually horrific, the actual tale. But yeah, I think they delivered it in a really cool way. And I would, if someone was like, they're going to do another one like that, I'd be like, I'd watch that. So for me, I really like the experimentation with this one. It's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. The big UP.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you say, Straight In was a really nice surprise. The whole Toons thing at the start, and it's just absolutely not what you'd expect, and a really welcome surprise as well. If you've watched or listened to the show, I should say, before, that's like, at least it's my favourite style of cartoon is the classics. So yeah, I was really happy to see that Straight In. I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. I'm in. And as it played out, it was, it was like ticking those boxes and playing the right sort of cards. It didn't have any voices in whatsoever. It didn't need him. And essentially, if you've ever seen the shorts that went along with Roger Rabbit, which are, I believe, on Disney Plus as well, it's the same. It's, the baby just going about doing what it wants to do. Mega, like, crazy stuff going on around it, but it's just going after a ball. And, you've got someone chasing it, trying to contain the damage, but, rather unsuccessfully. But it's also a nice little message about, essentially a baby and a parent figure. I think the violence aspect was jarring, and I think it does kind of take away a certain element of the style, I guess. And I think the only way, the way to fix that would have been not to get rid of, the blood and guts, because it needs that. It's the boys at the end of the day. It needed that difference. But maybe to add a bit more, like you say, those moments where the eyes stayed and stuff like that. Just a little bit more of that, and not just, his head's gone. Just make more of a joke of it. That being said, it wasn't really a major problem. It's just kind of why it was so surprising, and I knew there was something niggling at me while I was watching it, and I think that was it. But I did really enjoy it still. It was something I would never expect to find. Literally, like, this type of animation is something I would never expect to find in an anthology series. So it was a very welcome surprise. And I too am a thumbs up. I would watch more of at least Baby's Day Out style cartoon, and I'm intrigued as to see what the rest of the anthology holds.
Yeah.
Because if this is one of them, we're going to have plenty more to come, no doubt, that are as interesting, at least. It's always hard to say, because when it's in episode 1 as well, they're going to put something out there. It might dip easily.
Yeah, it could do.
I know the Star Wars ones were a bit like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sort of. The first one was really good, and then the second one was hot garbage. And then it kind of was up and down after that. So hopefully it's not that. But who knows? That's the fun of it. And yes, I will watch more. So yeah, 2 thumbs up.
Okay, that.
Boys presents Diabolical. Interesting stuff. So yeah, I mean, another good week. You know, we're on another Zinger trial, so let's hope that keeps up. You know what it means. Bad times ahead, but hey ho. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please feel free to rate and review us if you haven't already. It really helps us out, helps other people find us. If you'd like to listen to more episodes than are on our feed, you can do so over on our YouTube page. You'll find us at Toon Jam Pod, and we are also on the 3 decapitated evil corporation soldiers of the internet, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Toon Jam Pod. And you can get in touch with us. Tell us you thought we were right, we thought we were wrong, more likely. And yeah, we'd just like to have a conversation on there. If you've got any recommendations, feel free to throw them out as well. We have bonus episodes over on our Patreon page. You can get on there and, you know, help us out further, but then also get loads of extra content. And we also have a merchandise store, which is bit.ly/Toon Jam Shop, and there's all sorts of ridiculous t-shirts on there that you can enjoy. But otherwise, all that's left to say is, until next time, you stay jammy.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. If you want to help the show keep going, you can be extra jammy by heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/toonjampod. Here you can get a shout out on the show or unlock bonus episodes. Ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the podcast also really help us out. So thank you, and stay jammy.